let us do a bit of analysis. What do we know?
Okay, so far, the one thing that we know for sure is when the aircraft was last in communication with the air traffic controllers. And we know that the aircraft was in the Gulf of Thailand, around about halfway between the north coast of Malaysia and the south coast of Vietnam. So in that position there. And the last communication was with Malaysian air traffic control. And they were handed over, as the expression goes, to the Vietnamese air traffic control and never called in. We know then that there is ground tracking capability of the aircraft, but we also know that the aircraft has a lot of information and data that it also sends back to the ground via its various onboard communications devices.
Yeah, that's right. So therefore, what would happen is the aircraft will be pinged from the ground, and its transponder on board will actually be sending back its position and its height. Well, let's just take the first of these, the scenarios that was put out first of all, that we've had a catastrophic and sudden failure of the aircraft.
If that happened, cruising at 35,000 feet, that the airplane would actually break up, even if it wasn't broken up by the event itself, that it would break up on the descent before it actually crashed into the sea.
But that means, of course, is that we would have debris within an area around that aircraft, and we could calculate where the debris is from the wind speeds, the currents, and the tides at the time. If we rule that out, and a catastrophic failure didn't occur on the flight path, what could have happened then?
Well, we have to assume then that if it's not, there is no evidence of it having descended or crashed in that particular area that we've just looked at, then it presumably must, for some reason, have turned off course and tracked elsewhere.
Since there is no debris been found at all within the search area there, it might be safe to assume that the aircraft is either turned left or right.
Let's just remind ourselves that the airplane intended flight path was over here towards Beijing.
Yeah.
So, and we know that it had a fuel capability to get it to Beijing and beyond, because there will be reserve fuel on there. So typically there will be enough fuel on board to take it for an hour's flying time past Beijing.
Right.
So we have to consider then an area that the aeroplane could be in, which would be an hour's flying time beyond Beijing. So we're sweeping round really all the way down to Sri Lanka, the Philippines, and sort of East Timor over here as being the potential area.
But there was some evidence came out earlier from the military radars again, which said that they got a track of an aircraft which was unknown turning across and in towards the Andaman Sea.
So what that suggests is that it might have at some stage turned in this direction here. If that was our aeroplane, then why was it there, and why were they not talking to anyone?
I doubt it was a failure because of all the duplicated and the triplicated systems on board. So therefore, what we're left with is to say, well, there's an unknown reason why it's come across here, which means, of course, not only do we have a search area here, but we have a search area here, we have a search area here, here, and all the way around, well, certainly around this side, assuming that that track was right.
Yeah, radar only tracked it to a certain distance, but once beyond that, it could have turned in any direction within the Bay of Bengal that is entirely unknown.
But the interesting thing is, the depth of the water here is about 60 to 70 metres. The depth of the water out here is several thousand metres.
It is, yes, indeed.
And so therefore, if the aircraft did come down in here, it would have come down in much deeper water.
Well, if we're looking at the extreme edge of the range of action that the fuel could have provided, I mean, we have to consider that the aircraft could even have been a sort of over there in that sort of direction, and a very long way away from the initial search areas, indeed, which will be very challenging, I think, for the search and rescue authorities to discover the aircraft there, unless they are getting information from these data links that they haven't actually disclosed yet.
Well, I think everything should be evidence-driven, and the only evidence for this turn so far is this unidentified track that's come across here, coming from the military.
Challenging for the search and rescue team, and hopefully the technology that they have at their disposal will allow them to get a result.